This evening, first, tragedy on our roads. A 17% spike in fatal crashes and a shocking rise in motorcycle deaths. Why officials say these lives could have been saved and what's being done to stop the surge. Plus, political realignment ahead of elections. The AFC cancels key memberships as 3 high-profile figures defect to APNU. What caused the rift and who is now vying for power? And voting rights behind bars? The Attorney General shuts down calls to let prisoners vote, calling it a political distraction. Why the idea is off the table just months before Election Day. Meanwhile, Ministry on the move. Minister Vindhya Persaud brings vital social services straight to the people. We'll take you inside her latest outreach at Rasville and what residents had to say. And abroad, as Iran and Israel trade blows, Trump administration sends mixed signals. Is diplomacy still on the table, or are the drums of war beating louder? Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for June 19th, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, with road deaths on the rise, the Ministry of Home Affairs in a statement today urged all road users to take greater responsibility following a 17% increase in fatal road accidents for 2025. Between January 1st and June 14th, the country recorded 54 fatal crashes, resulting in 58 deaths, up from 46 accidents and 56 deaths during the same period in 2024. Speeding remains the leading cause, accounting for 48 of this year's fatalities. Other contributing factors include inattentiveness and pedestrian error. The ministry emphasized that these tragic losses are preventable and has renewed its Do the Right Thing campaign to promote safer road behavior. Motorcyclists remain the most at-risk group, with fatalities jumping 50% from 20 to 30 persons, and 23 of whom were not wearing helmets. Passengers' deaths on motorcycles surged 600% from 1 in 2024 to 7 this year, with none wearing helmets. Despite the grim figures, there were signs of progress. Child fatalities dropped by 67%, pedestrian deaths declined by 44%, and total traffic accidents fell by 4%. However, the ministry emphasized that many of the lives lost could have been saved through simple actions such as wearing helmets and seatbelts. The ministry is urging motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians alike to adopt safer habits. These are more than just numbers. There are lives lost and families shattered, the statement noted, reminding road users to do the right thing, respect the rules, slow down, and protect yourselves and others. On a different note, the AFC has cut ties with 3 of its executives after their defection to APNU and inclusion on its election slate. Dominic Gittins breaks down the rift, shaking up the opposition bloc.
With general and regional elections fastly approaching on September 1st, the political landscape is shifting dramatically. The Alliance for Changes has officially cancelled the membership of executive members Jorita Fernandez, Sherrod Duncan, and Dionorine Ricky Ramsarup following their confirmed defection to a Partnership for National Unity and inclusion on its list of candidates for the upcoming September 1st general and regional elections. The AFC said the trio failed to respond to official queries after media reports revealed their alignment with APNU. However, the party stated it had independently confirmed their defection and, guided by its constitution, formally ended their membership. The move comes amid failed coalition talks between AFC and APNU. According to the AFC, its final proposal included a power-sharing deal allowing the APNU to name the presidential candidate and the AFC to select the prime ministerial nominee, along with a 65-35 seat split. However, the AFC stated that APNU rejected that plan, insisting on choosing both top candidates, a condition the AFC deemed totally unacceptable. Jorita Fernandez, a prominent AFC figure, will now serve as APNU's prime ministerial candidate, with Duncan and Ramsarup publicly supporting her candidacy. While Duncan maintained his AFC membership is still valid until 2029, the AFC emphasized that their actions forfeited their standing in the party. In response, APNU leader and presidential candidate Orby Norton confirmed Fernandez's role and said the party is focused on renewal, with nearly 40% of its candidate list comprising of youths. Norton added that while coalition talks with the AFC have stalled, APNU remains open to future negotiations ahead of nomination day. The AFC, while expressing disappointment, wished the former members well, but warned against private arrangements that bypass official protocols. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlall has firmly dismissed recent calls for prisoners to be allowed to vote in the upcoming September 1st general and regional elections, labeling the proposal as a politically motivated move to disrupt the electoral process. The calls made by opposition-nominated commissioners at the Ghana Elections Commission urge the implementation of systems to facilitate voting by incarcerated individuals. However, Nandlall stated that while there is no specific law barring prisoners from voting, no legal or logistical framework currently exists to make it possible.
First of all, you have to have the legislative framework that will be able to enable that right to be enjoyed and exercised. And then you have to have the administrative arrangements. And then you will have to have the logistics and many logistics to think. And Alexander, Corbyn and Trotman must know that none of these things can happen in 3 months.
Speaking on his weekly program Issues in the News, Nandlall questioned the timing of the proposal, noting that the People's National Congress reform had never raised the issue during their decades in politics or while in government from 2015 to 2020. Nandlall emphasized that exclusion of prisoners from voting has been a long-standing convention inherited from British colonial rules, and changing it would require a clear policy decision, new legislation, and extensive logistical planning.
PNC is not a stranger to electoral politics in this country. They have been engaged in electoral politics in Guyana since 1957. Over 7 decades ago, they have been engaged in electoral politics. They governed the country for 28 years. And then another 5 between 2015 to 2020. They never championed the cause of prisoners voting during all those years. There has not been any change in the law since. How all of a sudden, 3 months before elections, this is an issue of some contention.
The only ulterior motive would have been to frustrate and delay the elections, Nandlall said, accusing opposition-nominated GCOM commissioners of using the issue as a political distraction. His stance was backed by PPP-nominated GCOM Commissioner Sesgon Raj, who confirmed that the commission had already voted against the proposal, ensuring that prisoners will not be casting ballots in the September 1st polls. Stick around when we return. Minister Persaud hosts community outreach in Rasville, and Ministry to launch groundbreaking Brave Men's Policy to engage men and boys in gender-based violence prevention.
GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing June 16, 2025 to produce an official list of electors for the conduct of general and regional elections. If you will be 18 years or older by June 30, 2025 and you're a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent or naturalization or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all of the registration divisions for you to check if you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. If you have changed your address since you were registered, you need to visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your new area of residence to apply for a transfer. If you do not apply for a transfer, you will have to go to the polling station where you will be listed to vote based on your previous residence. Wednesday, June 18, 2025 is the last day you can apply for a transfer during this exercise. For more information, contact GCOM on 225-02779 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Persaud, continues her outreach efforts with a community meeting at Rasville Tarmac, bringing vital social services directly to residents. Dominic Gittins has the highlights from the event.
Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Persaud, hosted a community meeting and open day on Wednesday at the Rasville Tarmac in Georgetown as part of our continued efforts to bring government services directly to the people. The event featured interactive discussions on key support services offered by the ministry, including childcare and protection, assistance for gender-based violence, and training under the Women Innovation and Investment Network. Residents also received valuable information on the recently enacted 2024 Family Violence Act. In addition to the group session, Minister Persaud held one-on-one meetings with residents to address individual concerns and offer guidance on programs such as old age pension, public assistance, and disability support. The initiative is part of the ministry's ongoing effort to connect directly with communities and ensure that social services are accessible to all Guyanese. It also reflects the government's broader commitment since 2020 to building a more inclusive and responsive society. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. The Ministry of Social Services and Social Security will officially launch its Brave Men's Policy at the Artichon Conference Center on Friday, June 20, 2025. Developed by the Ministry's Sexual Offenses and Domestic Violence Policy Unit, the policy is a bold national initiative aimed at engaging men and boys in the prevention of gender-based violence while promoting healing and accountability. Titled Brave, Bridging the Gap, Positively Engaging Men and Boys in Gender-Based Violence Prevention, Healing, and Accountability, the policy challenges traditional notions of masculinity and encourages men and boys to define manhood on their own terms, grounded in emotional intelligence, empathy, and personal responsibility. Unlike past approaches that cast men as perpetrators or exclude them from the conversation, the Brave policy begins from a place of belief in the potential of every man and boy to lead lives of integrity and purpose. It calls for a national shift away from fear and shame and towards reflection, legacy building, and authentic self-determination. Officials says the initiative marks a significant step towards inclusive, long-term gender-based violence prevention by acknowledging the critical role men and boys play in transforming cultural norms and creating safer, more equitable communities across Guyana. Don't go away after the break. Pakistanis return amid Iranian conflict, border shuts down, and Jamaica outlines priority for CARICOM chairmanship.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Current smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing June 16, 2025 to produce an official list of electors for the conduct of general and regional elections. If you will be 18 years or older by June 30, 2025 and you're a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors in all registration divisions for you to check if you are listed and if your particulars are accurate. You can object to anyone you believe does not qualify for inclusion in the OLE. To do so, you must be listed on the same divisional list as the person you are objecting to. You must visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to make an objection. The objections aspect of this exercise will end on Friday, June 20, 2025. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-0277-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I am Nikita Ford. Welcome to our regional and international news segment, which keeps you informed and up to date with a trending news story worldwide. In the Caribbean, Jamaica will focus on youth empowerment and human development as it assumed CARICOM chairmanship in July. Prime Minister Andrew Holness highlighted that the region's youth, who make up 60% of the population, as the key drivers of innovation and leadership. The July 6 to 8 summit in Montego Bay will carry the theme People, Partnership, Prosperity, focused on efficiency building, resiliency, and sustainable growth. Meanwhile, Israel has hit Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility, while Iran has also launched another series of air strikes across Israel. Al Jazeera Paul James reports.
Israeli strikes on Iran have intensified. The military struck near Iran's heavy water facility at Hondab, that's part of the country's nuclear program. The facility is still under construction and not expected to start operating until next year. But observers say there's no risk of a nuclear leak.
That is of no danger to people outside the immediate area of a bombing. You're more likely to be killed by the bomb than you are by something from the uranium itself. It poses no danger whatsoever to people outside a few kilometers from each one of these plants. Chemical and radiologic hazards are quite small. The one counter to this is Bushehr, which is a major power plant, nuclear power plant. If someone were to attack that plant, you would expect that the worst case would be something like Fukushima. There could be releases of material in the immediate region as well, but it's well contained inside a large concrete dome.
In the last 24 hours, Israel has targeted the headquarters of Iran's internal security agency in Tehran and military facilities across the capital. As the violence shows no sign of slowing down, internet services across Iran are facing disruptions and air travel remains suspended. Meanwhile, Iranian missiles struck across Israel on day 7. The biggest hospital in southern Israel is damaged in one attack. The Iranian military says Soroka Hospital in Beersheba is next to an Israeli military headquarters, and the strike targeted that building.
We have 40 injured people from people who were in the hospital at the time. The vast majority of these staff and patients are lightly wounded from broken glass, falling ceilings, and other effects. They were all treated in our emergency department.
Tel Aviv and other locations were also hit by dozens of missiles. A business district and residential areas were damaged as Israeli air defences struggle against Iranian missiles. And the more it drags on, hope of a negotiated solution is fading. Paul Ging, Al Jazeera.
As the conflict between Iran and Israel escalates, United States President Donald Trump administration is offering mixed signal whether it's still back at diplomatic solution to Iran nuclear programs. Al Jazeera Kimberly Hallkips reports.
It's a decision still yet to be made, whether to deploy the U.S. military to halt Iran's nuclear programs.
You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate.
The Iranians deny that. The permanent mission of Iran to the UN refuting on X. No Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House. Iran does not negotiate under duress, shall not accept peace under duress. Iran shall respond to any threat with a counter-threat and to any action with reciprocal measures. Trump admits he's lost patience for negotiations.
I said it's very late to be talking. We may meet. I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Maybe you could call it the ultimate ultimatum, right?
The U.S. is shifting aircraft and warships to the region. To date, it insists military involvement has been limited to defending Israel from Iran's missile attacks. But if it's to destroy Iran's deeply buried Fordo nuclear plant, Israel needs America's so-called bunker buster bombs. That's why it's urging the U.S. to join its offensive campaign. Deliberations over the Israel-Iran conflict have divided Trump's supporters, including conservative personality Tucker Carlson, who previously campaigned for Trump.
You're not going to convince me that the Iranian people are my enemy.
But the U.S. president insists he's not considering a prolonged foreign entanglement.
The next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week, maybe less.
U.S. intelligence suggests Iran is years away from making a nuclear weapon. But this week, President Trump said he believes Iran was close and has rejected that intelligence assessment. Kimberly Helkett, Al Jazeera, the White House.
Amid the escalating conflict between Iran and Israel, Pakistani officials have closed down all major border crossings with Iran. Al Jazeera Kamal Haider reports.
This is Taftan, the main border crossing from Iran into Pakistan. On a normal day, it's brimming with people crossing both ways. But now it's open only for Pakistani citizens returning home after Israel attacked Iran. The Pakistani authorities say they have made arrangements to bring back their citizens.
We coordinated closely with Pakistan's ambassador in Iran, the Home Department and the Ministry of Interior to evacuate stranded pilgrims, students and other citizens. We addressed visa and logistical issues swiftly to ensure their prompt arrival at the Taftan border.
In the past few days, more than 1,000 Pakistanis, including students, traders and pilgrims have crossed back into the country. Many are not sure when they will be able to go back. Maru is studying medicine in the Iranian border city of Zahedan, and she hopes She can go back in September to continue her studies.
I had traveled to Zahedan University to pursue medical education. Initially, Israel launched attacks on Palestine, and soon after began targeting Iran. In response, the government of Pakistan took swift action to ensure our safe evacuation and facilitate our return home.
We meet another medical student who was in Tehran at the time of the Israeli attack. He says the situation is precarious.
I was studying at Tehran Medical University, located just half a kilometer from military residences that came under attack. With rising security concerns, our families were anxious, and the university advised us to return home. While it's disheartening to see our studies affected, we had no choice but to prioritize our safety.
The Iranian authorities have advised the Pakistani students should leave before the conflict intensifies. The escalating conflict in Iran could force thousands of Pakistanis, including students and pilgrims who travel frequently, to return home. Already the government has ordered all non-essential staff and their families to leave as soon as possible. Just last month, a high-level delegation led by the Pakistani Prime Minister received a rousing welcome in Tehran, where he assured the Iranian President of Pakistan's support.
We fully support Iran's right to have, for civilian use, peaceful nuclear program.
However, that may be easier said than done. Now that Iran is under heavy attacks and has few allies left, it has shown its determination to defend its soil and sovereignty. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Quetta, Balochistan.
Thanks, Nikita. This brings us to the end of the regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's Safe TV2 headline news for this Thursday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.